Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the next section, and this is where I would say the fun starts in Directus, right? So let's start up the project and let's jump straight into the data studio part of Directus, right? So here you can see that I have opened my WebStorm, and I will be running this project as an I would say is a simple project so that we can in coming on videos we can also jump into some sections of source code of Directus to understand the how it's written and how the code is, I would say, properly structured, right? So let's just enter into our presentation mode, and let's open up this thing. And now let me just see if my database is running or not. Let me just open my Docker desktop, which is this one. And I hope, yeah, so my database is up, and I think it's also connected with my WebStorm as well, right? So let me just search for database. Yeah, so it's connected right over here. You can see my database, and we're having all the tables, right? So let's fire up our directories. So let's open our terminal over here. Let's clear the screen and let's say move into our API folder, and then we can type pnpm run dev, I guess. Okay, so I need to change my node version. So let's go with nvm use 22, clear the screen, and now I can type npm run dev. Okay, and this should fire up my directives. Okay, yeah, perfect. So everything is working fine. Now let's go to Chrome, and let me bring my Chrome over here, and let's go to localhost 8055. And this is our Directus instance. And if you remember from our previous sections, our password and email was like admin@example.com, and the password was admin, right? So sign in, and yeah, you are in your Directus instance, right? So the very first thing we can do is to let's name our project something different, right? So we will see that how we can customize this as well. So let's go into settings. This is what I like to do whenever I fire up a new instance of Directus. So let's go to settings, and inside this we can name this project something which we want to create. So let's say this is a foodie app, right? So we will be creating this app for, I would say, a restaurant management application, right? So let's name it as foodie, and we can say let's say foodie restaurant AURANT app, right? And you can give your project URL if it is hosted over any domain. Right now we can say https:/example.com. I think this should work for that, right? So these are some of the parameters I like to set, right? And then moving on, these are some of the modules which are available over here. So you're having your content, which is this part right over here. You are having your visual editor. I have disabled this for now, but you can work on this in the coming on sections as well. And then we are having a users directory, which is this one, right? Then we are having a file library. We're having our insights where you can create your own custom dashboards. And this is a documentation, and this is this part right over here, where you can click and directly jump onto the documentation side of things. I like to keep it as inactive or remove this thing normally because I normally Google things around, right? So let's save this thing. Let's go down. So this is some settings related to, I would say, visual editor. We don't need that for now. And let's scroll down. So this is something related to security. So this is where you mentioned the password policy, right? So you can keep it as non-recommended, or you can create it like weak policy or a strong one, right? So let's go with the strong one, or let's for now keep it as none. Okay. And this is the, I would say, authentication login attempts. And this is the number of attempts which are allowed for a user to log in, right? So if it exceed 25 login attempts, then I think the user will be blocked. Okay, and then moving on, it's user registration. Right now, you can see that it is disabled. But once if you enable this thing and you provide a role to it, right now we don't have any role apart from this administrator role. So if we click on this, what this will happen is that whenever the user which will register from our registration page will get the administrator role, right? So normally we don't want that. So I can close this for now. I don't want anyone to come register itself and they can call themselves as an administrator, right? So yeah, they need to verify email if this is enabled. So they have to verify their email as well. Right now, let's uncheck this as well. And this is some of the settings related to file and storage side of things, in which we can apply some different transformations to our files which are being uploaded on directors. We will see that in the coming on sections when we will be working with files. And then these are some reporting URLs where you can, provide some of the URLs where the end users can go and report some of the bugs or issues or errors, right? This is that place. And then this is related to some of the mapping in which you can, use this map box. And I think it's, if I'm not wrong, this map box is, I would say, an open source alternative to Google Map, if I'm not wrong. And this is one thing that you can use to integrate your geolocation data with Directus, right? So for viewing those data, those latitude and longitude points, you can use this a map box thing for that. Okay, but now let's leave it as well, and let's leave this image editor thing as well, right? So this is something I like to customize, and yeah, you can save this thing for now. We're good to go. And then let's come to appearance and let's change some of the things. The project color, I normally keep it as yellow for now. Let's save this thing. Project logo, you can upload this, although we have done this in the previous section, but let me just do it once more. So let's upload the logo. Let's see if there is something going on. Okay, I think let's upload this one. Okay, and yeah, it's perfect. And there is your logo, not a good one, but it's working fine for now. And let's change our background. Let's open this thing and let's go with this one, right? Open and save, right? And I think that's it for now. And just leave it as like public node, like foodie restaurant app, right? And let's save this as well. And moving on, I will go with the dark theme, which is my system theme as well. And I don't need any customization for now. So let's just sign out. And right now you can see that we are having our this sign up now, I will say, button in which you can go and sign up another user, right? And if you sign this thing up, let's call it as let's call test@test.com, which is our email. And let's keep the password as admin. Okay. And let's register. And that's where you have registered, right? And now it says that you don't have any application access. The reason is because we have not assigned a role to the registered users, right? So if you remember that we have not given a role, so that's the reason it is saying that you don't have any application access, right? So let's go to switch user and let's log in with the admin. So, and let's sign in. And now what I want to do is to just give that user a role. So that this user right over here, you can see if you come to this section, which is our users directory. In this, you can see that we are having our new user, right? Which is test@test.com. Let's click on this. Here you can, give it first name, last name if you like. So let's keep it as first name test and last name is also test. And you can upload the picture. You can provide the location, title, description. You can provide some tags if you want. The default language going on. You can also provide your default text direction, or you want two-factor authentication. You can do that as well. Right now it is disabled, but I think that there are some scenarios in which you can provide some of the environment variables which will help you to enable two-factor authentication in Directus instance. And this is some theming options, but moving down, this is where you can, provide the roles. Right now, let's give it as administrator and let's save it over here. And now this is having the role of administrator. Let's save this thing. Now, if we will log in with that user, we will be having all the, I would say, administrative rights for accessing our, I would say, Directus Studio, right? So let's sign out. And let's go with, I would say, test@test.com. And the password is always admin. And let's sign in. And this is now you can see that having all the access of Directus Studio, right? So you can come over here, you can change any of the settings, right? So this is one way of, I would say, creating users, signing up and providing them roles. Now let's sign out and let's go back to, I would say, admin and let's sign in, right? And let's delete this user because we will not be using this. So let's come over here, close this thing and let's delete this user, right? Perfect. So now it's time to create our very first collection and we will be seeing that how we could benefit, I would say, use Directus as a backend service, right? So if you come to this settings part, there are two, I would say, sub menus over here, which are data model and flows, right? So according to my experience, you will be spending your 99% of your time in these two sections, right? Where you will be creating your data models, configuring them and creating your flows, right? So now let's think of a table which we want to create, right? And the simplest solution we normally go with is a to-dos table, right? In which we will be creating our to-dos, right? So let's create our collection. And this is where you can, I would say create your first table, right? So just keep that in mind that a collection in Directus is equal to your database table, right? So whatever a collection is, it will be mapped straight to a database table in your Postgres database, right? So the very first thing you have to do is to name your, I would say, table. So let's go with small letters to dos, and we will name that table as to dos, right? And then you want to give a primary key ID. So I will keep that as an ID. But if you want to change that column name, you can do that as well. But I think normal ID is enough. I normally like to name that as an ID, right? And then you want to define the type of your primary ID, right? Which is your primary column, I would say, primary key. I will go with generated UUID. This is how I like to keep the approach rather than going for an auto incremented integer. I like to keep it as generated UUID. But if you guys want, you can go for other types as well. But now let's go into the next section, and here you can see that we are having some of the optional fields which are suggested by Directus, right? And these fields are obviously a part of a good system, I would say. Normally, we want to track what when the record was created and who created the record, who updated the record, and when the record was updated by, and who updated the record, right? So these are four different fields which I normally keep in my scenarios, right? So I can just check on this as well. And the good part of this is that these are also customizable. So if you want to change something, date created at or now, something like that. If you want to rename these fields, you can do that. But I always keep them as default, which are suggested by Directus, right? So let's save this thing. And going further, you can also keep this field, which is sort field, and this will help you to sort your records. I would say in ascending or descending order. So it will create a separate column of ordering. And I think it is also a good practice to do that as well. And if that's not a requirement, you can skip that. But I normally keep that as well, a sorting field. And apart from that, there is a status field. We normally don't keep that as well. But yeah, again, it depends on your scenario. For now, I would say that I don't like to keep the status field, right? So let's save these things. And yeah, there is your very first collection right over here. And again, we are having our ID, we are having our sort field, we are having our default system fields, which is user created, date created, user updated, and date updated, right? But we don't have any custom columns, right? And now this is the time when we will be creating our custom column. So let's say create field. And this is where you have to choose your UI element for displaying that column, I would say. So since we will be having our title, so I will go with an input field. So let's click on input. And here you can provide the column name. So I will say this will be our to do title, and then you can define the type of that column. Either it can be string, UUID, big integer, and go on, right? So I will keep it as string. Default value, I don't need any default value for now because we will be providing the title of to do by ourselves, right? And then it's saying whether it's required or not when at the time of creation, right? So for now, I think that to do without a title is meaningless, right? So what I will do is I will say it is required, right? So anyone coming into the picture creating the to do will have to provide the title, right? And then we can provide a placeholder thing. So these settings are just more towards like I would say related to Data Studio. You can use them as well. But yeah, okay. So going on, I think it's a good practice to do that as well. So I can say enter the to do, and I would say not to do, but enter the title. And then if you want to provide an icon to the left side of that field, you can do that, or you want to provide the icon to the right side of the field, you can also do that, right? But now I think it's simple enough. So just save this thing, and this will be your very first field of title, right? And then we also want a description for our to do, right? So let's go create field. And for description, you can change, I would say text. You can have a text area as well, or you can have any other UI element visualize, right? So let's go with text area, and we will call it as description, and the type will be text, right? Default value don't need, and for now I would not make it required because it's not necessary that anyone can come in and provide the description of the to do, right? And so let's say the placeholder should be enter the description, and yeah, we are good to go. Apart from that, this is the option where you can trim the start and the end of the string, right? If you want to trim that, you can do that as well. You can keep the font if you like. You can also say that whenever I would say this is cleared value, so save as empty string. So if someone want to save it as an empty string, that he or she can do that as well, right? But for now, I think this is enough. Just save this thing, and this is where our title and description exists, right? Now, the good part of this is that once you have your data modeled, right? So this is your, I would say business use case modeling, right? So in our business use case, we are having a true table. in which any user can have a title and a description, right? Now, once you design this thing, what this will do is it will automatically give you a place, or I would say a UI part, where you can perform all the CRUD operations, right? You can create the records, you can read the records, you can update them, and you can also delete them as well, right? But before moving on to that section, let me just give you some of the more, I would say, tips over here where you can, change some of the settings, right? So this is the collection setup in which this is your collection name. And then if you want to give a note to this, you can do that as well. So I will say these are all the tasks, I would say, needed to be done, right? Not a good one, but it will work, right? Then you can provide a, I would say, icon to this collection as well. So let's select the icon if there is any. So let's search for list if there is any. Okay, I think this should work, this list one. Then you can choose a color for this, I would say, a collection. Let's go with this, I would say, light sky color. And then you want to have a display template, right? Now, this is something which I will show you in the coming, I would say, section. But for now, just to skip this one, right? And this is one part which I normally like. So if you click on this hide within the app, so this collection will exist in your database, but it will be hidden from your data studio, right? And then it is having saying you that treat as a single object. So we will be coming onto single object part as well. But for now, just skip this, right? And then we are having your collection naming translation. So if you want to keep a, I would say, scenario in which you can support multiple languages, so there are also, I would say, the functionality of translation available right now. Okay. But for now, I think this is good. There's also preview URL, which is also available. Your content versioning. If you want to have a single content with multiple versions, you can do that as well. I have never used this functionality in my, I would say, Directus journey. But yeah, do let me know in the comment section if someone have used this content versioning, right? And then this is the option where you have an archive option. I've never used this as well. And apart from that, then you have this accountability settings and the sort field. We already are having a sort field, so we are good to go. The accountability section is just to track whatever the changes are being done to that collection, right? So it will be tracked. If you don't want tracking, so you can say do not track anything, right? But we will be tracking the whole activity and revisions as well. And then for duplication, this is some scenario in which you have to select fields. So if you will be duplicating a record, those fields will automatically will be duplicated, right? We can skip this option as now. So let's just save this thing, and our to-do selection is ready, right? You can see that it's perfectly working fine. This is also giving me the note. Now the good part is that now if you come to this content section, you can see that we are having one collection or one table which is to-dos, and we can create it, we can search it, we can filter it, we can update it, and we can delete it, right? So let me give you a glimpse of that. So let's say we are going to create a to-do, and let's call it as learn Directus, right? So, and description, let's keep it as Directus fun. Everyone should learn it, right? Everyone should learn, right? So, and I think I've spelled that right or wrong. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. And now we can add this record, right? So once you click on save, you can see that our record has been inserted with some of the data, right? Which is our title and description, right? Now, the good part of UI is that you can a lot more customize this according to your own business use case, right? So you can bring title first. So let's just drag and drop title first, and then you can be having your description, right? And apart from that, you can also add the fields, the system fields as well, right? So if you remember, in our data model part, we were having some system fields, right, which are user created and date created. We can add those as well, right? For adding that, you have to click on this, and then you have to select your desired field, right? So let's go with user created and date created and user updated and data created, right? So this is your, I would say, I would say not one, but this is one of the best features of Directus, I would say, that it will give you out of the box all that CRUD operations, right? So you are having your record right over here. Let's add one more. So let's say learn Python, and let's call it as Python is a good programming language, right? And let's save this thing. And this is our second record, right? Now, since we were having our sort field, you can see that these records are draggable, right? So you can drag it upward or backward. This will help you to sort it in different scenarios, right? So if you click on this, you can see that it is being sorted, right? Something like that. Uh, Not sure what's happening around, but I think it is sorting your records based on that, I would say sort field, right? So let me see that whether that field is available or not. Let me just close this and let's click on. And yeah, this is a sort field, and let's bring it to the top over here. So this is our first record, and that is your second record, and this is how your sorting is working, right? And you can, show it, or you can either hide it depending on your own scenarios, right? Now, moving on, we can also delete the record. So if you click on, let's say, second record, and you can see that you're having the options to delete as well as you're having the options to edit as well, right? So let's click on this and let's edit it. And now we can, simply change the title if you want. Okay, so it's saying badge editing. Okay, yeah. So this is the option of badge editing. Rather, going for that option, you can select a single record rather, updating the whole badge. So let's click on this one and let's say learn Python updated. And Python is a good programming language to be very honest, right? And let's save this thing, and this will update your record. And you can see that the related system fields are also updated, which is user updated and the date when it was updated, right? Everything's working fine. And you can also click on this and delete the record. So let's click on delete, and your record has been deleted, right? So all the APIs are working fine. And apart from that, you also have one good thing, which is this filter option by which you can search multiple records. And believe me, this is one of the best searching features available in Directus I've ever seen in any backend as a service application. So what you have to do is to just click on this search, and you can search by different I would say keywords, titles. But before searching, let's create some more records. So let's call it as learn Directus, and this is back end as search, right? Save this thing. Let's moving on. Add another record. So let's call it as learn Java. And Java is object oriented language, right? Let's save this thing, and we are having three different records, right? And now, if you see that we are not having our sort fields over here, I don't know why that's happening, or maybe we are having that. Okay, so we are having our sort fields. I don't know why it was not showing for the first time. But for now, let's hide this field. I don't want this as well, right? So let me just click on this and let's hide this field. I don't know how I can do that. So let's click on this and let's say hide field, right? So this is one way of hiding the fields. So now we are having three records, and let's search for different keywords. So let's say Java, and you can see it is automatically, searching for that keyword. And if you search for Python, you can see it is automatically searching for that as well. And let's search for Directus, and you can see that we are having a Directus search, right? And now going on, you can not just search for the keywords, but you can search for the specific data as well, right? So if I come to this filter part, you can see that we are having a filter option, and here you can select, let's say, a column, and you can search for particular columns as well. So let's say for in description, I'm going to search for, let's say, object, right? And now you can see that I'm having this one, which is Java is object oriented language, and it's working fine. And you can filter out by using another condition as well, right, for title, and then you can search for that, right? So this is one way of, I would say, searching in Directus your records, and it's working way fine. So let's remove these filters for now. And there is one thing which we have missed for now, right? And that is that we are not adding, we have not added one, I would say, column, which is that the status of our to do, right? Either it's in to do, either it's in completed, or whether it's not completed, right? So let's add that one, right? So the good part is that Directus is customizable, right? Even if you are having this data model which is ready, you can even customize it. So let's go to settings, let's go data model, let's click to dos, and let's create a field. This time we will be having this toggle field, which is just true and false boolean, right? And we will call it as is completed. That's boolean, and the default value should be that it is not completed, right? And it should be, I would say, required, but not required because we are keeping a default value, right? So let's keep it as not required, and then you can provide some of the icons and label as well. But for now, I'm good to go. So let's save this thing, and let's go to our this content section, and here you can see that we are not having is completed because we have not added that. So let's click on this, and this is the field right over here. Okay, and you can see that we have not completed. So let's move it to this part over here, right? So you can see that there are 3 to-dos which are not completed. So what we have to do is to just, let's say, learn Directus. We are doing that. So let's click as enabled and let's save this, right? And now you can see that it is showing as completed, right? Now, one thing if you see over here is that if you click on this, it is saying enabled, right? So you can change this label as well. Let me go back and let me go to our data model to do's and let's click this field which is completed, and rather saying it as enabled, we will change its name, right? So if you click on field or interface, I think the label over here, you can define the label. So let's say let me change this to uh completed, right? And let's save this thing, right? And I think this should work for now. So if you go to content and if you click on this, and now it says completed, right? So this is also completed and this is also completed over here. So our 3 records and our 3 to-dos has been completed, right? And that's how simple it is to create a collection or a table inside Directus and doing all that stuff. Right now, you might be thinking that, yeah, it is simple. It's not that much, I would say, features which I was talking about. But believe me, when it will be a lot more, I would say, easier when you will jump into the relations part, right? But for now, let's jump to the code side of things and let's see that what this has done to our database, right? So let's go to our WebStorm. Let's minimize this and let's close this as well. And let me just refresh our tables and see that whether that to-dos table is there or not, right? And now you can see that we are having our to-dos table as well. If you click on this thing, you can see that we are having our desired IDs, our sort fields, user created fields. This is the user ID, and this is when the record was created, where it was, who updated, which user updated this, and at which date it was updated, and the title and the description and the is completed part. The best thing I like about Directus is that whatever collections you are building in your, I would say, Directus Data Studio, it will be always separate from the logic of Directus, right? So here you can see that Directus has only mapped the fields which you have created. And there is no any other custom logic involved right over here, which is related to Directus, right? So let's say if tomorrow you want to have a separate backend which will be working on your this database, you can easily export all those tables to a separate database, and then you can link that database with your backend and you can start working without it by building your own custom features which Directus is providing you, right? This is one of the best parts of Directus I like, right? So yeah, I think we are good to go for now. But in the coming on sections, we will dive more into this UI part of things, and we will be jumping into some of the relational stuff of Directus, which are one-to-one relations, one-to-many, and many-to-many. So see you in the coming on section.